Welcome to the Cigar Snob podcast. I am Nick Jimenez, the senior editor of Cigar Snob magazine. I'm joined by Eric Calviño,
Yup.
our editor and publisher, and Ivan Ocampo,
Hello.
our photo producer and general photo acquisition, fashion guru, sometimes photographer. You do a lot of things. You wear a lot of hats.
That's a pretty long title.
Yeah. You're going to need a bigger business card.
And it always changes in every podcast. I like this.
That's part of the thing.
Nice.
That's part of the thing.
Okay.
We'll get more creative going into episode 6.
Okay.
We are leading off this podcast. The last time that we recorded, we were remembering Jose Orlando Padron, who had passed not too long before, and unfortunately, now we are going to be remembering Gilberto Oliva Sr., who was the patriarch of the Oliva cigar family. Eric, I know that you had a close relationship with the Olivas, so I'll pass the reins over to you on this. What are some things that you think people listening should know or remember about Gilberto Sr., especially considering that he was sort of more of a behind-the-scenes character that the average consumer might not have been aware of?
Yeah, I think, and you said I had a relationship with the Olivas. No, I have I continue to have.
Yeah.
We're very, very close. Our families are close. We get together often, not often enough, but that's only because of our schedules. But at any rate, the thing that I think people perhaps don't know about Gilberto Oliva Sr., because he was behind the scenes, he was involved more in the leaf business of the Oliva cigars. And, when you look at a product like theirs, one of the reasons that people keep coming back to that product is because of the consistency, right? You can't say never because anything can happen, right? But you don't smoke Olivas and then go, oh, wow, this is weird. This doesn't taste like Oliva. This tastes like something else. No, I mean, even when they started getting big with Flor de Oliva, which is a bundle product, and it became the best-selling bundle in the country, it was an amazing cigar for being a bundle. And then that kept going and going, and obviously up to the V and the V Melanio. And so these cigars reached their notoriety and achieved their notoriety because of the tobacco that was in them. The blends are obviously extremely important, but if you don't have the raw material to make the blends, you just can't make those cigars. So while Gilberto Oliva Sr.'s name is not in the forefront, right, and it's not in front of consumers, in the forefront of consumers' minds, that should never diminish his impact, right? It's a tremendous impact on the business. Not only that, but he sold tobacco to, so there's Oliva tobacco in many cigars because they were one of Nicaragua's largest growers. He was, I have some great memories of him, right? He was instrumental in my formative cigar smoking years. So my first, as we call in Spanish, borrachera, right? The first time that I got just killed by a cigar was a cigar he gave me as, I was, 17 or something like that. And we were in their backyard and we were talking about how Jose and I were talking about how we wanted cigars to be stronger and stronger. And he said, oh, you guys want stronger? And he handed me something that just knocked me out. And, but anyway, those are some just memories that we'll keep between us. And, it's tough for me, man. It's tough. That guy, like I said, he was instrumental in my cigar formative years. I love the guy. I love his family. His kids, all of them, Jose, Gilberto, Carlos, Maria, and Jeannie, they're great people, all of them in their own way. And I'm going to miss that guy. So every trip to Nicaragua, for me, included a visit to see him every time. So I will definitely miss him. And I think the cigar world will miss him.
Yeah. As far as the cigars, I think that a lot of these cigar makers, have something that's sort of their signature, whether that's a particular leaf or a commitment to a particular profile. What are some things that the consumer, especially a smoker who hasn't really explored Oliva all that much, what's something that you would point to as like, this is a patently Oliva thing that you will pick up on, and it's sort of like the stamp that that Gilberto Senior left on there, and I'm especially interested in things that he sort of passed on to guys like Jose and other people who will sort of be carrying his legacy on.
I think one of the things that is a hallmark of Oliva is the tobacco processing, right? You'll never run into an Oliva that has that under-fermented tobacco punch in the face. It'll never have that. And sometimes smokers today, they confuse strength with harshness, right? And Oliva is a company that believes in fermenting their tobacco to the point that it needs to be. Not overdoing it, because you can also overdo it and sort of knock down the tobacco's characteristics by over-fermenting it or over-aging it. The Olivas really have been incredibly consistent at fermenting it to the right point where the tobacco is still alive and it still gives you that jolt, but without ever having any bit of harshness. And that's something that oddly enough, in today's cigar world, where smokers want or get confused by the strength versus harsh dilemma, I've actually had someone tell me that the Oliva Serie V is not full-bodied, and you say, "Are you serious?" Like that? They're like, "No, that's not full-bodied. I don't feel it. I don't feel it in my nose. I don't feel it in my throat." Okay, well, smoke on an empty stomach and let me know if it's not full-bodied. It sneaks up on you because it's very well made and very well fermented, but yeah. So that's something that I've always loved about them. The flavor's always there, the aroma's always there. But it never has any of the harshness and any of the negative characteristics. So I think in terms of flavors, it's a very Nicaraguan taste. But you have to remove that pepper, that super peppery characteristic that many Nicaraguans have today, because consumers think that means strength. Olivas have that earth, that soft pepper, the chocolate, and the coffee. That's very, very Oliva. So, what we're smoking right now. Can we talk about what we're smoking? Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, so the Oliva V Melanio Maduro is what we're smoking, and it is exactly that, right? Like if you wanted to have a symbolic or representative cigar of the Oliva profile, go with the Melanio or the Melanio Maduro. It's a cigar that it's gonna give you the Oliva profile from beginning to end. So I would definitely recommend what we're smoking. I think, like I said, earth, soft pepper, chocolate, and coffee are the hallmarks of this particular cigar and the Oliva line.
Yeah, I know when I first came on to the magazine was in 2013. So it was right around the time that we put the Melanio at the number 1 spot in our top 25 list. I'm sure I'd smoked something Oliva before, but I had never really taken the time to explore. But that's sort of like what hooked me. And what you're saying about it being alive without being, sort of overpowering to the point of being unpleasant after a few. And that year, I think I smoked at least 2 for almost every game of the Heat playoff run leading up to the championship. Because I was getting friends together at a shop. And that was the thing that struck me. I was like, shit, I'm smoking Melanio for an hour or 2, maybe 3 hours at a time. And it's as good at the end without making you feel like I can't light another one.
Yeah, and it never takes on that sort of rank taste that sometimes when tobacco is under fermented and you heat it up as you're starting to get to the middle to end of the cigar, and the tobacco really starts to heat up, it turns into this rankiness. Mm-hmm. And I can't stand that. And every time I'm smoking a cigar and I get to that point, I'm like, Jesus, why am I doing this? And you'll never have that with an Oliva, right? It's right. They're so good at the processing part of it. Yeah, anyway, I can't stop saying good things about the cigar. I love it. It's to give you some background. It's my your first cigars always form your idea of a perfect cigar, right? That happens to every smoker when you first start smoking. You go, oh wow, and you may want to go up or down in strength or intensity. But it's sort of your baseline. It creates your baseline. And the Oliva line has been my baseline because that's what I first started smoking. So, like I said, I'm probably the wrong guy to ask because I can't stop saying good things about it.
I usually say, whenever I'm asked what your daily smoke is, I'll usually say Oliva V. So
Yeah,
that's something I've been doing. I tend to shy away from the pepper, as you described, the peppery, harsh stuff. You call me a puss, but I do tend to shy away from it. You don't get any of those characteristics at all. It is before lunch, so I'm sure this will sneak up on me, and I'll be feeling it right after this podcast. So,
sort of on the opposite extreme is your sister Yamilet, Eric, who I think punches way above her weight on cigar strength.
Unreal, man, how that little short, and if you guys have ever seen her, she's tiny. Just to give you an idea, when we land in Nicaragua, or when we pull into Esteli, Maria Jose from Oliva Cigars will always come find us at whatever hotel we're staying. Not that there's many to choose from. She could just hop from one to the other and eventually find us. There's not that many there. But and she'll bring Yamilet, my sister, she'll bring her a bundle of Cane Double F. I don't know if any of you guys out there have smoked a Cane Double F. That is out and out an ass kicker, man.
Yeah.
And this little tiny girl smokes them like nothing. It floors people when they see
I don't know if smoking you under the table is a term, but she can definitely do it.
So that's a good segue, talking about Esteli hotels, into the next topic in our show notes here is the topic of Esteli. So we're going to be putting a travel guide that we wrote for visiting cigar factories in Esteli online soon. And figured we'd take this opportunity to just kind of talk Nicaraguan travel and our own personal experiences with visiting that hub of Central American cigar making. Ivan, you were there for the most recent Nicaraguan the Puro Sabor Festival. That was your first time, right?
Yeah, it was my first time.
What were your general impressions of the town?
Well, the first thing that jumps out at you for me is the climate. I thought it was as comparable coming from South Florida, which is hot and muggy 360 days a year. It was just it was perfect. It was almost like if you were setting foot like somewhere like at least when I was there, somewhere like on the west coast of the U.S. like San Diego or Napa or something like that.
Cool at night.
Yeah, so I mean that's the first thing that jumped out at me. It was spectacular.
Very cool. And
so that's the first thing that jumped out at you?
And the electrical cables in in my shower head. Yeah. That was the second thing, but before I got there it was the climate.
So you survived the shower long enough to enjoy the climate.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nicaragua's got some issues in terms of hotels. There aren't many. If there are no rooms in the decent hotels, you end up at some places that have some shower problems, to say the least. But no, we love Nicaragua, and the what is it that we're putting online?
That travel guide for visiting factories in Esteli. So what we did was, I think most people who tell you they've visited cigar factories in Esteli were there hosted by or traveling with their neighborhood tobacconist or a particular cigar company.
Yeah, they may have won a contest or something.
Right, exactly. And so what we did was, we went down to Esteli and we sort of went through that trip independently, visiting factories and laid out for the person reading it.
In other words, renting a car instead of having a driver come pick us up.
Right. Yep. So if you were to just go on your own or with a few buddies to visit factories on your own, how would you go about making the most of that experience and sort of guiding yourself through the town and experiencing all of the cigar stuff that it has to offer? And so that's what we'll be putting online. It ran in print a few months ago, and I'll be making it more widely available. And it'll also be evolving because there'll be information that changes and factories that move. So you'll want to look out for that. And if you have interest in traveling to Esteli, refer back to it.
So where can they find that?
They can find that at cigarsnobbmag.com. And it should be on the homepage for a while, but you can always go there and just run a search for Esteli travel, and you'll pull it up. So Eric, you're the one who's been traveling to Esteli for the longest and who's been the most times with the three of us. What are your impressions of how it's changed from when you first visited to now? Because I know everybody I talk to who's been seeing it evolve has things to say about how it's changed.
Yeah, it just in terms of size, right? It's grown in congestion, right? Like the amount of people, the population. It is one of the places in Nicaragua where you can always find work, right? So So a lot of people flock there, and a lot of Nicaraguans will flock there to find work. And so it has grown in that sense. I mean, it was a sleepy little town 12 years ago when I first went there. I mean, really sleepy. You could walk across, La Carretera Panamericana, the main artery that goes through Esteli, without much issue. You could just cross that street. Today, try that. It's like you have to be nuts to try and cross it on foot because it's just nonstop motorcycles and trucks carrying tobacco. And so I love it. I love going there. You disconnect completely because it's so different than anything we're used to in this country.
And it's nothing like even going to Santo Domingo or...
No. No. Santo Domingo still feels like a city.
Yeah.
And this feels like a town a small town that's bursting with people. And incredible tobacco all around it. So it's a cool evolution. I think we'll dig up the old Nicaragua piece and take a look at that and kind of reminisce a little bit. I remember during that trip, we, some of the factories have moved, right? The Pepin factory was in this place called La Pelota. And now it's in a massive place. AJ Fernandez's factories were a little hodgepodge of different small factories, and now that's this one massive factory. So, and then one of the other ones is the one that we're going to. When is it?
February 6th, so that'll be for a story in our March-April issue.
So that's Tabsa, which is the guys from Aganorsa, and their factory has...
Casa Fernandez.
Casa Fernandez, I'm sorry. That's the brand that people would know. So anyway, all those places have grown and improved. And
any non-cigar or cigar factory recommendation? I know the place that jumps to my mind just because...
Come on, man. Don't even mess around.
I remember I was there and I kept hearing people talk about what I think was Harvard. People kept talking about how so-and-so was going to Habad, and and then it turned out one night we pull up to a place called Hard Bar. And Hard Bar is sort of the place that you just end up, right? If you want to do nightlife in Esteli, it is like a multi-level, multi-concept. It's like part
karaoke,
part karaoke, yeah. So if you're in Esteli, Hard Bar is the spot.
Well, for me, Esteli Finca a su Mesa.
Finca a su Mesa is great.
Which is Darren's place. He has single-handedly improved my food aspirations for Esteli. Right? It used to be just, you either go to Los Pinareños, which is this little Cuban restaurant there, or you go to one of the other steakhouses. And they always have, all of these places have consistency problems. You'll go once and you'll be floored by the food quality. And then you go the next time and you can't even eat it.
Yeah, which the problem's in the kitchen, right? So yes. We've got an American chef who's over there taking advantage of some incredible beef.
Correct. So then you go there now, and every time you sit down, you're getting just amazing food. Yeah. So that's my recommendation. What about you, Ivan? Did you try anything? What, hotels or something?
Well, the last time I was there for the festival. So just hitting back, if anybody hasn't attended Puro Sabor, check that out. It's you can go to purosabor.com. Tickets are still available.
I don't know. I think it's sold out.
Maybe sold out?
Yeah, I think it's sold out.
Forget that. Look at 2019 for tickets. But anyways, great event. So I wasn't really going to like private restaurants. They have like sit down meals.
Yeah, at the festival.
Like all day, every day schedules. So every meal I had was amazing. You can't go wrong with red meat and gallo pinto.
Well, so don't take my word for it. Go to NicaraguanCigarFestival.com in terms of the sellout. I said they sold out, but I don't know if they did. There may still be some spots available, but that is well worth attending. It's from January 22nd to the 27th of 2018. So definitely get on that. NicaraguanCigarFestival.com.
Cool. So how are we doing on the cigar here?
Man, this is what I smoked on Christmas. So this is the exact same cigar. It's like Ivan said, when people say, what's your go-to? This is one of them for me. I love this cigar. It's everything that I said earlier. The coffee, the earth, chocolate, the soft pepper, tiny bit of wood, right? Just a little bit of like oaky wood. It's delicious.
And it's also it's pretty.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It's a really nice looking ash, and which it's one of those, it's rare that it's nice enough for me to care to comment about it.
Yeah.
But it's always just such a nice looking cigar. It's impressive how consistent that aspect is, and it speaks to the construction, and I like I don't know that too many cigars that I gravitate toward have this about them, but that like sort of the thinness of the wrapper. It's like a really delicate but flavorful thing.
That's interesting that you say that, because that's one of the things that Jose, he's always preached, right? You can't put that thick, cheap wrapper on it, right? He's never liked it. Now there's some wrappers that can be thick and expensive, but yeah, he's always talking about of getting a nice thin wrapper with the right characteristics, and this is exactly that.
Yeah. So let's shift gears to Christmas, which just passed. We had Christmas Eve, or Nochebuena, as we refer to it in the tropics, in Latin quarters.
Yes.
What did you guys do? What'd you eat? What'd you smoke? Any favorite gifts given or received?
Okay, so I got a great gift.
Yeah?
I want to say thank you to the guys over at Drew Estate for giving me my Flying Pig cigar ashtray tower, which is amazing. So busted that thing out in my Nochebuena celebration, and it is definitely the centerpiece of conversation.
Anytime someone walks out to his backyard, to that terrace area, immediately like, oh my God, what is that? It's like, it's instant reaction, which I like better than what it does in my office.
So for those of you who haven't seen it, maybe on social media, it's a big red pillar with True Estate Flying Pig ashtray
on the top of
and artwork on the side of it.
Yeah.
But this thing's humongous. It's like at least 3.5 feet high.
Yeah.
Beautiful paint job on it. It's impressive. So thanks a lot, Drew Estate.
Yeah, I got one of those as well, and that was it was a nice treat. Eric, any
So we did, our tradition is to go to my dad's house. So every year we go to his house, and I have to say this year he nailed it. If you guys don't know, the Cubans, what we do is we roast a pork, usually a whole hog, for Christmas Eve, as we call it, Nochebuena, which would translate into good night.
Right.
But so we do the whole hog, and man, he freaking nailed it this year. It was outrageously good. So yeah, that's what we did. In terms of gifts, you get the normal gifts, but my brother Chuck gave me a Yeti, I guess tumbler you would call it, right? Unreal for coffee. I pour the coffee into it at 9 a.m, and it's still piping hot by 3 p.m. It's unreal. So thank you, Chuck.
It's a ringing endorsement for the Yetis. My wife gave me the headphones that I have on my head right now.
Oh, it's a hell of a look.
Some pretty exciting stuff. I've never owned noise-canceling headphones, and I am looking forward to canceling all kinds of shit out.
It's useful here.
Yeah. And no, but especially for planes, we travel all the time, and it's like I have I tend to pick my seat based on aisle or window, and I just somehow I always end up putting myself right up against an engine. So so this will be nice. I also got my dad a gift that was partly for myself. We're doing a pistol training course, so
water pistol,
a lot of water pistol shooting. So yeah, January 6th. If you don't hear from me, something's gone wrong.
Something went horribly wrong in the training.
So, Eric, you are going to be... This is a New Year's Eve trip. You're going to Savannah in South Carolina?
Oh, yeah. We're going camping. Going camping up there in this cold-ass weather. But, yeah, we're psyched, man. Now, you went to Savannah. What was it for? You went with Elsie.
I got engaged in Savannah.
Ha!
Yeah.
You were the guy to ask. So what am I doing up there?
So we were talking about this earlier. I think the place that I wouldn't miss, because most of Savannah is just kind of like walking it. It's maybe the most walkable city that I've been to, just in terms of
in the South. Because come on, Boston is as walkable as it gets.
Boston's as walkable, but it's not as scenic throughout the walk. So it's like Savannah. Everywhere you go, they have all these like squares set up, so it's like a park every 2, maybe 3 blocks, for about like a 10 by 10 block area. So it's a great place to just kind of stroll and smoke, which is key because I'm not exactly sure when, but at some point in the last 5 or 10 years, they put a smoking ban in place. So boo for sure. And the few cigar shops that there are in the town, while they have a decent selection and are readily accessible for anybody walking around, you can't smoke in. So it's good that you can walk around, and unless this has changed in the last year or two, you can also drink on the street. So you can take your drink from the bar with your cigar and just kind of walk around and hang out. And
that's a good time.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. And there's a bar called the Old Pink House, restaurant and bar. So it's an old.
That's like where Ivan took me on my bachelor party.
There you go.
Pink Pony. Oh. I'm kidding.
They must have multiple locations. So my wife enjoyed your bachelor party spot. No, it's an old mansion with a basement level piano bar. So like, good lounge music stuff for, if you're able to, if you want like a quiet, sort of low key but still kind of cool, different bar night. So highly recommend Savannah to whomever. That was a great trip, and we got engaged on Tybee Island. So very short drive right off the coast of that area of Georgia.
We'll go there and celebrate your.
There you go.
Your nuptials there.
Your
engagement.
They have these like bench swings on the beach every like 50 to 100 yards.
Should I take flowers? Like, here goes Nick's.
I do it. Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
here goes Nick's single life.
Yeah.
I'll take a sweater.
And take a sweater. So what I was going to say was, we went around this time of year, and I made the mistake of planning to propose on a beach. It was basically like us and a homeless guy.
That's lovely.
We were in good company. So luckily that didn't ruin anything for it. But yeah, highly recommend that whole area. And the food obviously is great. I mean, you're like all the best of
low country
stuff right on the water. So that's a great trip. Ivan, have you been to Savannah?
Yeah, here are my only 2 contributions, thinking back. I remember going to a bar called the Cotton Exchange. So I remember that being very cool. And the other thing is, my dad went to high school in Savannah. And this is where I might get my golf genes from. He is a self-proclaimed putt-putt golf champion in Savannah. So I guess that's what he spent most of his time doing in high school. So that's all I got.
That's where you got your golf. All right.
Last recommendation: if you are a cigar smoker, which obviously if you're listening to this you are, and you are in Savannah, stop by Exotic Cigars. There, I'm sure other cigar shops in the area are worth visiting, but as far as the tobacconists that are there, despite the smoking ban and the fact that they don't have to deal with the hospitality aspect, or can't anymore, far and away the best service, the most hospitable ownership.
Exotic Cigars.
Which it's funny because it's on that strip right on the river that you look in, and it looks like a lot of tourist trappy T-shirts and stuff, but they have a good cigar selection, and their owners are this incredibly nice group of Caribbean ladies who you wouldn't expect to be owning a cigar shop in the Deep South.
Yeah.
Hey, ladies.
Yeah. But great people. So year in review, we are upon the tail end of the year is upon us, and we are remembering some of the coolest stuff that we did in the magazine over the course of the last year. You guys talked a bit about your trip to Italy.
I still haven't stopped talking about it.
Yeah.
that trip was just that was awesome, and we'll be hopefully going back to do an event there next year. So look out for that. Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
Very cool. At the very beginning of the year, we ran a short piece titled "Fidel Castro is Dead. Now What?" And the basic idea of the story was Fidel Castro is dead, but that doesn't really mean that a whole lot else has changed. Coming on to the end of the year, what are the thoughts on
the title? Was spot on. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed at all. So
still arresting people, still
blasting embassies with sonic waves.
I think that was the Cuba story of the year, really. Even though we didn't cover it because it's not really our area for print, but it was such a typically Cuban way to bother like what an obnoxious. Just like let's just be loud. Let's make Cuban. Their ears ring.
But I read something that it caused like brain damage and like hearing loss on some of the people that were affected.
And like vertigo and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the worst Cuban party. Nobody had a good time, but it was just really frigging loud.
What about you, Nick? You and Andy took a couple trips, right?
Yeah, Andy's our art director. So he joins, either me or Eric, or Ivan when we do some of these travel stories. And I think the surprise of the year, travel-wise, was that Andy, who he got here from Cuba, 5-6 years ago?
Yeah.
So being here at Cigar Snob, I mean, more so than he's done more travel than most people, let alone most people who just arrived.
Yeah, no kidding.
In a country, and Milwaukee and Madison, I think, were his favorite places of all the places that we've been. I think it's just really cool architecture and that like Midwestern sensibility. So like the people are nice as shit, sort of like Chicago, right?
Yep.
It's like a clean Chicago. So if you're into
but
Chicago,
did it get trumped by Boston now?
I don't
He
think
came back raving about it.
He came back raving, but I think Milwaukee and Madison are still
In
up
his
there
heart.
for him, and they're still in his heart. He's still a cheesehead, still a cheesehead at heart. But yeah, and as long as we're on that topic, and recommending shops in the areas we're talking about, for me, Maduro in downtown Madison, Wisconsin, just like half a block from the Capitol building. Little cabinet humidor, but super cool little speakeasy-ish bar. Very intimate. Usually gets like a good crowd going. Great craft beer because you're in Wisconsin.
Yep.
So that's the.
So when you're in Wisconsin and you're at a bar, normally you sit down, you get a little bowl of peanuts. In Wisconsin, they just give you like cheese.
They won't give you the cheese, but you want to order some cheese, like some fried cheese curds or something like that. I don't know. I don't know if they have bar snacks at Maduro.
Like here you go, bam.
Yeah.
Cheddar.
I'd be all for that though. I'm all about free cheese. So
Not you.
I'll be like, peanuts, please.
Peanuts, please. We and then after that trip, we came back to the office and had the year's biggest culinary adventure at Cigar Snob headquarters.
It's sad to say that, but yes.
Well, I mean, culinary in the sense of our creating something, right? I don't know that we trust ourselves with much more than grilling brats. So that's where that was our cutoff. And actually, the brats were pretty great.
They were awesome.
We did, I know there was a jalapeno cheddar. There was a pretty standard.
There was a standard one, and then there's like a black and blue one that was called, right?
Right, yeah, which was it was blue cheese and bacon?
I don't know what the other...
There was something else in there, but so we got them from rjmeats.com, and that was like...
But then they also gave us some pointers on how to make them.
Right. So we simmered some of them in beer, so that's a very typical Wisconsin thing. We simmered them in beer before finishing them on the grill, and that wasn't my first time doing that. I don't know if you guys had that before.
I'd had them. I hadn't prepared them, so I didn't know. But now every time you're at like a tailgate for a football game, and you see the guy in the tailgate next to you pouring beer on the brats as they're being made, you're like, buddy, that's not how you do that.
Yeah.
So we did learn something with that little culinary adventure.
And the nice heads up they gave us was about the pretzel bread or pretzel bun to use.
Right.
Very true.
Yeah, the pretzel bun, like with so many other things, the bun is the thing that too few people account for.
I always ask that when someone says, "Oh, this place has the best burger." I always say, "What's the bread like?" The patty, yeah, you have to have good meat. We got that. But if you don't have a good bun, you can't possibly have a good burger, and the same goes for this.
Yeah.
Right.
And so finally, whenever...
Oh, you didn't jump on this topic at all. You didn't care about it.
No.
Okay.
No. Oh, you're talking about the bread?
Yeah.
No, we can talk bread. Actually, so if people are in Miami, where there's a great pretzel bun is Butcher Shop in Wynwood. If you're ordering, not enough people opt for the pretzel bun, but the Butcher Shop pretzel bun is...
Thank you, Nick. I mean, you just left me hanging there with this.
No. You brought up a very, very important point, and we shouldn't leave people hanging. Over the course of doing all of our magazine work, we talk to people who don't necessarily make cigars or grow tobacco or run cigar shops, and some of those people are pretty cool. So, who are some of the most interesting or favorite people that we've run into over the course of this year?
Gary Sheffield for me was a really cool cat. Gary Sheffield, Rocco Mediate, right? Those two guys, even though they are, celebrities in their world, they were really down to earth, cool guys, and loved cigars. So I like that they were engaging guys. Sometimes you run into these guys and they're just kind of they're not engaged by your conversation. kind of like Nick with my conversation about bread.
Yeah.
And but no, Gary was great, man. I really enjoyed chatting with him. That's what I thought was the coolest guy.
I loved Rocco. You know, for me, it was a dream come true. Even though he's super the most down to earth person you can ever talk to. Just being able to talk, you know, golf, and specifically, I guess one of the biggest golfing moments, I guess, in history, which was the U.S. Open playoff head-to-head against Tiger. He was, you know, he was very candid about everything, and yeah, that was amazing. So Rocco for me was pretty cool this year.
We've talked about him recently, but for me, Domenico Vaca.
Well, you spent a lot of time with him too.
Spent a lot of time with him in New York, and then he was in Miami shortly thereafter, and he helped us out with a fashion guide. But to me, you know, speaking of down to earth, you know, we were first put in touch with Domenico Vaca maybe a year and a half ago when his publicist reached out to us. I think because he just really wanted an excuse to smoke cigars while doing his press stuff.
Yep.
And honestly, I don't know that we knew very much about him because none of us is a custom suit fashion guru guy. And going into it, you sort of assume, you know, like some things about the guy who makes and the Italian who makes and sells, you know, $30,000 custom suits. But this was like, he's just such a cool dude, tremendous cigar smoker, dresses some of the, you know, biggest stars in Hollywood, and you can tell that he's somebody who makes it a point to associate with people that he can relate to on that level, despite his being in a world that maybe his personality, you know, doesn't always mirror one-to-one, you know. So he's
what did he like to smoke the most?
His go-tos among non-Cubans are the Padron 7000. And I think he likes that shape especially because he's one of these guys who, you know, when he smokes, he likes to make that his me time. So he'll do you know, long strolls or whatever in New York City when he's there, and he talks about smoking Padron 7000. But I know that he shops at the Nat Sherman Townhouse. So
he's smoking a Padron 7000 in the opener of the piece.
Yeah, that
was last issue.
Yeah. That was last issue in our the one with the Italian trip and the Italian style guide. So yeah, that you know, that was the person find for me, and I'm sure we'll maintain that relationship, and he's excited to put us in touch with some of his Hollywood buddies. We're in the works on doing something with Jeremy Piven, who
very cool,
is on vacation now, but at some point next year, that's something to look forward to. Jeremy Piven, who was in Entourage and who was dressed by Domenico Vaca. He pretty much did all his wardrobe for that series and for the movie, so that'll be cool. Let's check back in on the cigars.
Yeah, keeps cruising along, right? Yeah. Just loving the smoke. I'm a little farther down than you. I don't know how because I've talked so damn much. But
I'm slow. And you had me thinking about bread. I had to put this down to think about those pretzel buns.
That's true. But no, man, I love the cigar. Like I said, I can't say enough good things about it. It is consistent. It's continued along that same path that we presented earlier. So,
which is totally my speed. I love that when I like it at the beginning, I don't want surprises. At least that's, you know, if I'm smoking just for me, I can appreciate that roller coaster thing that you get in some cigars. Yeah. But when I'm just smoking for me, I'm one of those, like, I want to, like, turn my brain off and enjoy
that profile.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing about this particular cigar, and you know, for audio purposes, we turned off our Rabbit air cleaner, or what do you call that? Air purifier.
Yeah.
So we turned it off. So now it's very smoky in here, and we've got the three of us smoking the same thing. It's the aroma of this cigar. I always tell people if you can, when it comes to a good cigar, if possible, smoke it indoors, so that you can get the aroma. You know, you smoke this outdoors in a golf course, and you're losing it. Every puff you take is gone. So in here, this is a perfect room to walk into right now if you wanted to smell the Oliva aroma.
We're gonna shift into our parting recommendations. I want to switch things up here. I want to make sure that we're leading with Ivan, because I want to make sure that we're checking back in with you every episode until we have confirmed whether those glasses took 10 strokes off your game.
I think I'm about one stroke off my game right now.
So you have to play 10 times?
Yeah, right. I got 9 to go.
All right.
But I'm getting there.
No, but seriously, how do you like them?
Nice, man. They look cool as shit.
So you played with them?
Yeah, okay, cool. I did. I feel cool. You know, as Dion says, look good, feel good, play good. So at least I look good and it keeps the sun out. Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. Besides that, I did pick up a new item that I'd like to share with everybody. I got his and her matching pillows.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I got, let me see. It's called Coop Home Goods Shredded Hyperallergenic Pillow. So
it's a shredded pillow?
It's a shredded memory foam pillow. So it's adjustable. So
it sounds like they took like the memory foams from 100 mattresses that they were making, and they just took like the shavings, and then just packaged it and sold it to you.
I think that's basically what they did. I don't know if this is marketing or not, but it works. So far, I've slept in it one time.
How's your neck?
Neck's
You're always complaining about that.
Neck's amazing.
Amazing neck.
It'll take another 2 strokes off my game.
Cigar Snob Best Buy.
The Coop. Does that have anything to do with Cigar Coop? Our buddy Will?
Maybe.
Oh, man.
We'll
Watch
have to check in.
Coop, get yourself some royalties out of that.
He's over there shaving mattresses.
Yes.
between blog posts. Eric, any recommendations that you would have people check out? I know you wanted to mention.
Look, recommendations. I think the shoot that we just did, featuring the Villiger La Vencedora and Villiger La Meridiana. Those are 2 new lines from Villiger. We did a shoot with 2 different models, and that was just freaking awesome. That's my recommendation, is check that out. That's coming up mid-January. I'm also reading, if you want to just like traditional recommendations, I'm reading Elon Musk right now. Pretty interesting book.
Who's he?
No,
I'm kidding.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
okay, all right. Good. So anyway, yeah, Tesla, SpaceX, PayPal.
So this is this an autobiography, or it's about something?
It's a biography.
Okay.
It's a biography. Ashley Vance wrote it, and it's just he's an interesting cat, cool. and reading it just dispels a lot of the myths about him, and pretty cool. Recommended.
So I'll go the same route. Do a magazine related recommendation. Our schedule. We talked about the process for creating the top 25 list in the last episode. Our schedule for releasing that list online. If you want to sit on pins and needles waiting for our list, I know a lot of people do.
Yes.
Will be January 8, 9, and 10. So on the 8th, we will be announcing the cigars that landed spots 25 through 16. On the 9th, 15 through 6. And on the 10th, 5 through 1. So
it's a good list.
On January 8, 9, and 10, you want to make sure that you are either refreshing cigarsnobmag.com or that you're following Cigar Snob Mag on Twitter, Instagram. Check out Cigar Snob Magazine on Facebook, and we will be sort of continually updating all of that over the course of those 3 days. And then as far as non-magazine recommendations, just yesterday I saw All the Money in the World, which is the name of a movie, not a pile of money that I saw. And it was about J. Paul Getty, which was it was a pretty cool movie. But I think the most interesting thing about it, that I was surprised at how seamless the whole thing was that the movie had already been shot, and J. Paul Getty was played by Kevin Spacey. Ooh. So after the diddling accusations came out, they had to go back and reshoot every Kevin Spacey scene with Christopher Plummer.
Oh my God!
I was surprised at how seamless the whole thing felt, and it's a really cool story. I won't ruin things for people who aren't familiar with the history, but Getty is
they reshot everything.
They reshot just his scene.
Yeah, but still.
Luckily, most of it is the whole thing is that Getty, who is the namesake of the Getty Museum in L.A., was this obscenely wealthy guy who had this huge art collection, and his son is kidnapped. And so the whole thing is his ex-wife trying to get him to pony up the money for the ransom. So most of the scenes that Kevin Spacey was in were just him in a room or him with one other person. So it's not like he's walking through crowds. And so I imagine, I'm not sure, I should have looked into this before we started talking about it on the podcast this month, but
no, that's fine.
I don't know whether they like CGI'd him into scenes or if they reshot stuff where he's talking to other characters. But in any case, that's sort of an interesting little tidbit, but the movie is cool.
Who's Plummer? I don't...
Christopher Plummer.
The old guy.
Christopher Plummer is the old guy. I'm sure Kevin Spacey was upset he was replaced by.
You would think they would get two guys that were closer in age.
You would think so, yeah.
So what do we know him from?
The Sound of Music, Beginners, Remember, But yeah, lots of stuff.
Charlie Chaplin.
Yep, there you go. So anyway, yeah, all the money in the world is my recommendation for this episode. Check it out. Not necessarily a theater movie, but that's where I saw it and it was good. Any other parting thoughts?
Go get yourself a Melanio.
Yep.
Seriously, it was our cigar of the year 2012. It's just a rock solid cigar. You're gonna love it.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think cigars are one of those things where it's so easy to because the families are so tied to the companies and the products. When you want to reward or like show appreciation for the work that a family puts in,
yeah, that's the idea.
It's
right?
easy to do, and it's a thing that, you know, to the extent that the cigar community is a community, it's sort of a low barrier for you to participate.
That's why last podcast I said, you know, go out and smoke a Padron, and maybe I didn't clarify that, but what I meant was go smoke a Padron as a tribute to this man, and I think, you know, after this podcast, I think you do the same. You go out and smoke a Melanio or even a V or any Oliva product as a tribute to Mr. Oliva.
And to get to know him. If you're not as familiar as you'd like to be, to get to know these people that you're hearing so much about, because you learn stuff about them smoking the things they made.
Absolutely.
With that, we're out.
All right.
Thank you very much. Catch us next time. Visit cigarsnobmag.com. Subscribe to the podcast, rate and review us, and send all of your comments, questions, and nudes to feedback@cigarsnobmag.com.
Thank you, guys.
Happy New Year.